Hey guys, DC Network here, coming at you with another video. Cartoon Network has not acquired a program in over 3 years. So what exactly do I mean by this? Well, Cartoon Network airs a wide variety of programming on their channel. They air the shows that are made in-house by Cartoon Network Studios. They air the shows that are made in-house by Warner Brothers Animation. And they also air shows that are made from Hanna-Barbera Studios Europe, such as The Amazing World of Gumball or Elliot from Earth, which obviously has been canceled. But they also have series that are considered to be acquired programs. And essentially what these shows are their shows that Cartoon Network pays to acquire the license of so that they are the exclusive home to that series. So think of like Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh back in the day. Shows like Dragon Ball Z or Dragon Ball Super when that was on a few years ago on Toonami. Stuff like that Cartoon Network pays for so that they have the licensing to that series so it is exclusive to Cartoon Network here in the US. Well, as I said at the top of this video, Cartoon Network has not paid to acquire a show in over 3 years. The last show that Cartoon Network acquired on their channel was Bakugan Armored Alliance, which was the second season of the Bakugan reboot, which concluded back in 2021 when the Bakugan reboot jumped ship on Cartoon Network and went over to Netflix. So today in this video, I wanted to discuss with you guys why they aren't acquiring shows anymore and why this is a huge problem for Cartoon Network. So first and foremost, I want to just give a little bit of a synopsis of acquired shows and why are they important. And the reason why they're so important is because they just really bolster your lineup. Think of shows like Johnny Test. Think of shows like Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, Bakugan, Beyblade. You know, all those series that were on all throughout the 2000s and even into the 2010s that I just mentioned. Those shows were all acquired programs. Think of stuff like Totally Spies or Code Lyoko. Those are all series that were not made by Cartoon Network, but Cartoon Network paid to acquire the rights of them. Same thing goes for Naruto, or as I mentioned before, Dragon Ball Z and stuff like that. But for some reason, Cartoon Network just isn't doing that anymore. As I said before, these shows are very important to have on the channel because they really do bolster your lineup. So why is it that Cartoon Network isn't paying to acquire these shows anymore? And honestly, it's a bit of a mystery because my speculation is that since Warner Brothers Discovery happened, since that became a thing and David Zaslav took over the company, they probably don't want to pay to acquire shows because they don't want to pay licensing fees. They don't want to pay extra money than they need to because they're in $55 billion worth of debt at the point at which the merger happened, and they're currently at $45 billion worth of debt. So they don't want to be spending more money on acquiring shows when they could just produce shows in-house for probably a cheaper sum as opposed to paying some other studio for the show that they produce. That's my speculation. That's what I think the reason is behind that. But when you take a deeper look at it, what is interesting is that they are paying to acquire the rights for shows on Toonami, on Adult Swim. Shows like My Hero Academia and other animes that are on the channel, those are all acquired series. None of them are being made in-house by Warner Brothers Discovery. Those are all being made by other studios, which Cartoon Network, Warner Brothers Discovery is essentially paying to acquire the rights of them here in the US. So why is it that they're putting all this money into Adult Swim or Toonami rather when it comes to acquired programs, but they haven't purchased a single acquired program since 2020 for Cartoon Network? It's really a rather strange mystery because they're putting the money in on one side of their network but not putting it into the other side of their network. Kind of like what we're seeing with Adult Swim right now. Adult Swim is getting a ton of brand new series while Cartoon Network is sitting there with nothing new to offer. Obviously we have a few things here and there, but it's really a night and day difference when you compare Cartoon Network today to even Cartoon Network 10 years ago. Forget about it, 20 years ago. That was a completely different Cartoon Network that doesn't even compare to the Cartoon Network that we have now. But as I said before, the reason why these acquired shows are so important is because they add variety to your channel. They add more shows to your lineup because obviously there's going to be a limit as to how much you can produce in-house. The output that Cartoon Network has had from Cartoon Network Studios over the past half decade has been absolutely abysmal. So if you had some acquired shows like, for example, the Pokemon anime, Pokemon Horizons, if that was on Cartoon Network, that would be a huge player for them. Same thing with Yu-Gi-Oh! 7, same thing with the new Beyblade, or remember back in the day when Yokai Watch was a big thing? That was a show that normally, if it was like the early 2000s, that would be on Cartoon Network, but when it came out, it was on Disney XD. And why is that? I think part of the reason, as I said before, is Cartoon Network doesn't want to pay the licensing fees for these shows. But the other part of this reason is I think these companies just don't want the shows on Cartoon Network anymore. And the reason I say that is because when Cartoon Network had the rights to shows like Pokemon, when they had the rights to shows like Yu-Gi-Oh! Back in the early to mid 2000s, they aired the shows all the time. They would have reruns on, they'd have special marathons on. I remember for Labor Day with the Pokemon movies, they would put a lot of emphasis on these acquired programs. But if you look at Cartoon Network throughout the mid to late 2010s and even into the early 2020s for the little acquired shows that they did have, like the Bakugan reboot, whenever these shows were airing new episodes, that's the only time you would see the show on the channel. Cartoon Network would never showcase the series. They would never have them air reruns on the channel. So in essence, what it's doing is they're paying all this money to get the licensing rights for these series, the rights to air them on their channel. It's not only a waste of their money if they're not going to air and promote this series, but it's a waste for the companies that are making these shows, because how would it feel if you're selling Bakugan, the reboot, to Cartoon Network, and you find out that they're only airing it on the channel at like Saturday at 8 a.m. and they're never going to air the show other than when they have a new episode every couple weeks or whatever the case may be? That's going to hurt the brand of Bakugan. That's going to hurt the brand of Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh! Or whatever other acquired series is out there. So not only is it a factor of Cartoon Network not wanting to spend money, but it's also a factor of Cartoon Network just really hurting the brand recognition throughout the 2010s. They really showed other companies that, hey, do you really want to be coming over to us to sell the rights of your series? Because chances are we won't be airing it, and if we do, it's not going to be all that much. Of course, there is one elephant in the room here, and that is that Totally Spies Season 7 is supposed to be coming to Cartoon Network. This was something that was announced a long time ago, and technically speaking, that would be an acquired series if it actually did find its way to the channel. At this point, though, I'm not putting any money on that show ever appearing on Cartoon Network, because how many series have they announced over the past 3 to 4 years that have actually come to fruition? This could be something that fell through the pipes here and it's never going to come to Cartoon Network, or I could be wrong and it does come to Cartoon Network over the next few years, but that's something that we're going to have to keep our eyes out for. But anyways, let me know in the comment section below what you guys think about all of this. What do you guys think about the fact that Cartoon Network hasn't had an acquired program on the channel since the Bakugan reboot second season Armored Alliance back in 2020/2021? If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to see more content like this from DC Network. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.